away from it without that $50,000 in my pocket. Now, the short sale indicates to me that the lender is forcing that sale. Either you're going to sell it on a short sale or they're going to foreclose on you. So the homeowner is the one that's being forced into losing money. Am I correct, Denver?
Yeah, you're right. That's just how I was going to explain it. But
okay,
the short sale is ultimately simply up to the bank.
Yeah, exactly. So the homeowner who justifiably owns that home the bank is stealing it from him, basically. And the bank makes money on all ends, let me guarantee you. They come out smelling like a rose, even though the banks are stupid. I love to use that word with the banks. When I was working real estate in the investment division, in the commercial division, I was appalled at how the banks handle REOs. That's real estate owned, and they call them REOs. And that's what they own real estate that they've taken back on defaulted mortgages, foreclosures, etc. And there's rules and regulations in the Federal Reserve on how much money in REOs, or real estate owned, that the bank can have. And so when they face an audit, which takes place, I can't remember if it's quarterly or whatever. Denver, you may know more about that than I do. But they don't want a lot of this stuff on their books. But if you think that any broker can go into a bank and say, I'd like to, have access to your REO list because I've got some investors that are interested. If you're not buddy-buddy with these bankers, they're not going to let you in on the REOs they have, or they might throw you a bone with a real ratty property or something like that. But here's what I found that they do. Even though that property is sitting vacant and deteriorating, and unless there's people in a building, that building is a living, breathing entity, and it deteriorates if it's not being inhabited, cooling and heating and actual operational, okay? It deteriorates much faster than if it's lived in. Vandals will break the windows, and they have to board them up. The locks have to be changed. The landscape has to be taken care of. The bank is spending money on that property every single day and month, and yet they raise the price instead of lowering the price and getting it off their books. Denver, have you ever run into that?
Yeah, there's a lot of homes like that here now.
Yeah, they don't lower the price and get rid of them. They're stupid. They raise the price and make it more difficult for people to own them. And I never could figure that out. But from the only thing I can figure out is it's a buddy-buddy system. If the right investor doesn't come along, they're going to hang on to that thing like a bulldog, whether it deteriorates to the ground or not, So there is so much fraud and stupidity in the banking industry. These guys have got to go. Just got to go. Denver, is there anything else, honey, you'd like to share? Because it sounds like you're very knowledgeable.
Well, not tonight. I've got kind of a sore throat. It's hard to talk, so.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You're better, John.
Thanks.
Thank
you for your input, Carol.
Thank you, Denver, for bringing that up, honey, and I'm sorry that I stole your thunder. I should have let you.
Oh, that's fine. You did great.
Well, thank
Carol,
you.
how you doing? I just want to ask Carol real quick, how you doing? Are you still good?
I'm good.
Yeah, pretty good.
I'm okay. Let's just go and answer as many questions as we can, as long as we all hold out.
Okay, just wanted to check on you, honey.
Oh, thank you.
Carol, I'd like to ask a question.
Lynn, is that okay?
Sure, as long as it's okay with you. I just want to make sure you were okay with it. We're going on 3 hours, and I just wanted to make sure you were holding up okay and weren't getting tired or nothing.
Well, I'm here for the long haul if I can. Thank you. If I can't, I'll let you know, honey. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey.
Or if you want to shut me down, that's okay too. Whenever you guys get tired.
Oh no, I think that everybody's having some good lessons, and this is stuff that we need to know and be aware of for when this goes down.
Well, and can you add Virginia, please?
Yes, I will. Virginia, you're next. And the lady who just had a question, didn't mean to step on you. Go ahead.
Something that's been bothering me ever since, Carol, I've heard 2 or 3 times people explain this, and they said that how the mortgage was going to be wiped clean. Now, I don't understand. Let's just pretend like today I started building a house, and it's going to cost me $300,000, let's say, to pay for the builders and land and everything. You know what I mean. So I'm starting out today. I'm building this house with my money cash. The neighbor has a loan, a house just like mine. And now she has the mortgage for $300,000. And now this deal, they're going to wipe hers out. How can they wipe hers out whenever it costs the same $300,000 for her to build her house? Am I confusing or what?
Yeah, it's confusing, but you've posed a very real scenario, and you've done a good job with it. Thank you for that. That's something most of us aren't considering. Here's how I see it. Okay, now, like I said, I could be wrong. I may not have all the details, and you can assess it yourself and put it into your thinker and come out with your own resolution on it. Here's the deal. She got a loan through the Federal Reserve System, which is fraudulent.
Right.
You haven't tied into the Federal Reserve, which is fraudulent yet, because you're using your own money, and so that's the difference. If let's just say you went out and bought a car and paid $5,000 for it, and you paid cash, and let's say your neighbor went and bought a car for $5,000, but they financed it and they put maybe $200 or $300 down on it. That $5,000 car is going to be free to them from there on. They'll probably just pay the $300. That's the biggest investment they have in it, and you will have paid cash for it. But that's the way things are going to shake down, I think. It's the luck of the draw, and I hate to use that term, but the main thing is the Federal Reserve and the attorneys have tanked our country, okay? And the Federal Reserve has been fraudulent from the get-go since 1913. And there have been other fraudulent things too, but the Federal Reserve is and the IRS, they are fraudulent. They have been proven in court, in federal court in Denver and in Fort Collins in Colorado. And there is a lawful law called NESARA that is the result of the determination of the federal courts that the IRS and the Federal Reserve are fraudulent against the people of America and the Constitution. So what's going to be happening with the zeroing out of all the Federal Reserve loans, whether it be Federal Reserve banks or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or Sallie Mae, which is the college loans, any other governmental agents, or non-governmental but connected with the Federal Reserve, which is not a government agency to begin with. It's a private ownership syndicate, if you will. The reparations are going to be because of the fraudulent activities of those two agencies, the IRS and the Federal Reserve. So that's where the reparations are going to come through. Unfortunately, you had the money to pay for it, and you're going to pay for it. That's your money that you haven't applied for Federal Reserve loans or anything else. So does that help at all? I know it
But
sounds...
you see, you know what my question is. It took the same amount of money to build the house, to have all the flooring and the landscaping for it. That's always been kind of what bothered me.
Well, it sounds very unjust, doesn't it? And
yeah.
And it really is in a way, but you have to understand that you have to understand the intricacy of this whole scenario.
No, I understand that, but that's been the only thing that bothered me. And it's the same thing now, like they say that your credit cards will be paid off,
Exactly.
I think the same thing. I think, those people that have been, careful and didn't have any credit cards and everything all these years, well, okay, and then these other people, they go out and they have $150,000, $60,000 worth of credit cards, and they just wipe them clean, see? So to me, I understand what they're saying about the fraudulent part, but I think, is that right that those people are kind of being rewarded for all of their careless spending or something? They lived high on the hog all of those years, and now that's all being wiped clean. Now, that was my thing. That's always kind of bothered me there. I just didn't understand it. Do you see what my question is?
Oh, absolutely, and I feel the very same way you do. But here's the kicker on this one. Let's just see if I can present this in a way that I'm going to feel good about sharing it with you. Oh gosh, I had it in my mind a minute ago, and I'm trying to pull it back in so I can share this with you. There's the other side of the coin that let's go back to the house situation. Let's use the $100,000 scenario, if that's okay with you.
Fine.
You go into the bank and you finance a house, and you sign your name to a promissory note for $100,000. You may have put $50,000 down, or you may have put $3,000 down, depending on what kind of financing there is or what's available for you. Okay, so you have this $100,000 note with the Federal Reserve. Well, the part that doesn't go into the equation that you put forth that we have to consider is that the fraudulent part of the banking system, the Federal Reserve, is that when let's just call it the bank that's going to own this loan and they're going to service the loan. So they send this promissory note that you've signed off on that you're going to promise to pay $100,000. Well, have you ever heard of the straw man name? In other words, you have your lawful name, which might be Ann Jones, okay? And it would be a capital A, a lowercase n, a lowercase n, a capital J, a lowercase o, a lowercase n, a lowercase e, and a lowercase s. So that would be your lawful name, your constitutional, lawful common law name. Now, when you get your driver's license or your birth certificate, maybe not on the birth certificate, I can't remember on the birth certificate, I think now they do. But anyway, your driver's license and your checks from the bank and things like that, your name is in all caps. That is your straw man name. When you are born, if your parents had gotten married, this gets into a whole other realm, and I'm going to try to highlight it because it's really detailed and it goes into a lot of history. And so I don't want to bog us down too much because I know you guys are new at all this. And even, I've been around it for so many years and I understand so much of it, but trying to explain it to someone that is new into this realm, you're biting off a lot right now, and I'm expecting you to maybe make some sense of what I'm saying. And so forgive me if I'm giving you too much all at once, but when you're born, if your parents married under state law and they signed a marriage certificate, they applied for a marriage certificate, and they signed the marriage certificate with the minister or whatever, and then the minister filed the marriage certificate with the county in your state, that gives the state the right to own your children. They can come in and take your children away from you at any time because you have signed your children off to the state. Now, I know you're trying to digest that. Now, if your parents are common law married and they didn't sign that marriage certificate and have it recorded with the county in your state, the state doesn't have that right with your children. Now, in some states, they say that if you cohabitate and if you go through the grocery check stand as man and wife and you haven't done a marriage certificate, you are still considered married. Each state has its own quirky little laws, and I don't know how many different quirky situations there are. So I'm giving you a broad general idea of the fact that the government owns all of us, okay? Because my parents, got a marriage certificate, and I belong to the state. All my names come over in capital letters. That's my straw man name. Well, when I was born to my family, under my straw man name, the government, this corrupt, phony corporate government, set up a trust fund I think it's in Puerto Rico, in my straw man name, all capital letters. And I might be listed as a drug dealer or an arms dealer or whatever. They give you a phony profession or vocation or whatever on this straw man account. And it's worth so many millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars when you're born, and it collects interest, and it just grows and grows and grows over the years. So me being